How's it going, guys? My name is Marty. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to do a review on a guitar that I've just sold. So I wanted to shoot a video on it just before it goes off to its new owner. So it's a pretty cool one, and there's not a whole lot of information on YouTube about these guitars. So it would be cool to show you it. So this is the guitar in question. So this is an Edwards ELP 113 LTC. I had to look this up just so I knew exactly what the model number was. It's getting a little Ibanez-y with these older Edwards. So if you've seen many of the videos on my YouTube channel, I'm quite a big fan of these older Edwards guitars. So at the moment I have 4 of them, which is kind of why I need to slim them down. And I've had quite a few in the past, so I've done a bit of buying and selling and using them in various covers and things like that there. So I ended up with this guy about a year ago. I'd been after a white one for a while. It was the only colour of Edwards I hadn't ended up with. That's incorrect, actually. I had a white one and it was in terrible shape, so I returned it actually. But this is like the vintage white one. So it's an Edwards Les Paul Custom. And if you're not familiar with Edwards guitars, it's another company off the ESP brand. So, you know, the real high-end brand that James Hetfield, Kirk Hammett, lots of cool players use their products. Very much like modern metal guitars. So Edwards is basically a cheaper brand off that. But they were designed to be distributed exclusively for the Asian market. So you find a lot of these are in Japan. And I think the reason for that is they can rip off Gibson so authentically. So if any other company attempted to do this outside of Japan, they would be sued so bad. So the likes of that headstock is so reminiscent of a Gibson open book headstock. Will this focus? Yeah, it's very much a Les Paul Custom through and through. It's got the same thickness, a lot of the same specs. Very high quality guitars. So yeah, they were designed to be sold throughout the Asian market, but it's become quite popular now to import these into America and the UK. So I've grown to really love these guitars, so I've always been a big fan of traditional Les Pauls, traditional Les Paul Customs and things like that there. I think one of the big factors in people loving these guitars is the amount of spec you get for the cost of it. So for example, a Gibson Les Paul these days, I think on the cheaper end of things, can cost about £3,500 in the UK. These Edwards, I think brand new, they sort of like they still make Edwards still make guitars today, but I think the equivalent is something like £1,300–1,400. So you're getting a lot of guitar for the money there, and there's a lot of people feel like these keep up with Gibsons quite well, and I would say the same thing. My older brother has a Les Paul Custom from a good year, like a proper Gibson. And you can tell it's the proper Gibson. Like it's a beautiful guitar. It plays and it feels amazing. You can tell it's, you know, a guitar worth that amount of money. The Edwards, they get close, but they're not quite the same. But in terms of saving, you know, £2,500 or whatever, they're absolutely worth it. So this particular guitar I had been looking for a wee while. Basically Edwards do this great thing where they essentially bring models to market which are inspired by famous artists. So you might be able to guess who this was inspired by just by the color. If not, it's very much a Randy Rhoads Les Paul. So if you've ever watched any of the older Aussie performances, Randy Rhoads is using a off-white vintage white Les Paul Custom. I would bet money that that's where this was inspired from, because they've done this across the market quite a bit. So the first Edwards I have was a John Sykes or John Psyche inspired model. It had like the chrome pickup rings, the chrome pickup selector, all the, you know, traits that he was known for in his Les Paul Custom. There's also a highly sought after satin purple Les Paul Custom, which was James Hetfield had a Les Paul Custom refinished in like the mid 2000s. So Edwards brought one of those to market, and it's so hard to get a hold of. You can't see it, but there's one right over here, which I'm very lucky to have. So they do this thing where they basically they look at what's popular and what other companies aren't doing, and then produce a model based on that there. And I think again they can get away with this because of where they are and where the guitars are designed to be sold and distributed. But yeah, so this is obviously highly influenced by the likes of the Randy Rhoads vintage white Les Paul Custom. So I'll maybe just go over the specs a wee bit here. So hardware wise, it's all Goto, which is a very high end Japanese guitar parts company. So again, right away you're seeing very high end parts. So the tuners, they're not locking, but for this time you wouldn't have seen these really being that pop or that known at the time. So these are Goto gold tuners. They're very high quality. They have a good turn ratio and they feel solid in your hands. The bridge and tailpiece are both Goto as well. I think even the jack plate. No, the jack plate isn't. I've swapped that out for Goto in the past though. So yeah, all the important aspects that are mounted to the guitar are high-end parts. The pickups, they come with Seymour Duncans as stock, so I'm just going to double check what they are exactly. So it's a Seymour Duncan SH1 in the neck, and it's a Seymour Duncan SH4 in the bridge. So offhand I can't remember, but I think that's probably a JB, and it could be a Jazz in the neck. That's quite a common pickup configuration for Les Pauls. What else have we got? I'm just looking at the specs on the Edwards website here because I can't exactly remember. The fretboard is ebony, and it's quite a nice example of ebony. Sometimes you get it, looking a bit more like rosewood in these different models basically. So ebony fretboard. Is it mother of pearl? It's pearloid block inlays, which I don't think would be as high quality as the Gibson. I don't think that's mother of pearl, basically. But it still looks pretty good. I'm going to say the frets are nickel. They probably are. What else have we got? It's got a bone nut, which again, very reminiscent of a Gibson Les Paul. You would not get that on a cheaper version of a Les Paul Custom or, a copy. On the wood side of things, it's that typical Les Paul Custom configuration. So mahogany neck and body with a maple top. According to this Edwards spec sheet, it says the top is hard maple, the back is mahogany with white and black laminating binding, which I suppose if you can see that there. Don't know if you can, hopefully you can. There's binding around the body and the neck. It's got quite short frets, and I can't really remember what a Gibson Les Paul feels like in that department. But they feel good to play. I'm gonna hazard a guess and say it's the regular nickel frets you would expect on a guitar from this year. It's got the typical set neck. Yeah, and I'm not too sure what sort of shape the neck is. It's quite reminiscent of a Les Paul though. Yeah, I'm not too sure. It's a very comfortable D-shaped neck, I would say. Oh, it's worth saying the finish is kind of like this. I don't know if this is nitro, but it's got this sort of matte feel to it, where it maybe could be. I'm not exactly sure. The body at least has this really nice nitro look to it. It's soft to touch, if that makes sense. But that's across the whole of the body. The neck nearly feels a little different. Nearly feels like it might be like a poly finish. It's worth saying that this is one of the mid-2000s Edwards guitars, so there seems to be more demand for that sort of time frame if you're looking at these in the second-hand market, because they still produce guitars today. I've not used one of the most recent Edwards guitars, or I haven't played one of the newer ones to know, but there's a lot of people saying that they prefer how these older ones feel, and I have played a lot of them from say 2003 to 2009, and I can attest they feel great to play, and they usually have very good specs. So yeah, this is a 2004, so my suggestion would be, if you're looking at buying one, aim for around the middle of the 2000s, and you'll get something that's, if it's been looked after, you'll get something that has great spec in it and probably has quite a bit of character in it because people have been playing them. But aesthetically, it's a very nice guitar, especially, you know, you've got the vintage white, all the black plastics that you would associate with a Gibson Les Paul, and the matching gold hardware, which, you know, always pops on a guitar of this color and this configuration. Yeah, it's, you know, it's a great guitar. I highly recommend anybody who loves these sort of traditional shapes and, you know, these sort of legacy guitars to check out Edwards, because they have copies of everything. So there's Les Paul Customs, there's Explorers, they've got semi-hollow, like 335s and stuff like that, 335s, whatever they're called, Flying Fees. They even have Strats, you know what I mean? It's not even just Gibson that they're actually like replicating here, but it's the high quality they're doing it. That's where it matters. Like, the specs are phenomenal. I know a lot of people that won't touch like a Gibson Les Paul Custom because they know they can find these. For anybody that's interested in buying a guitar like this here, I would suggest Facebook Marketplace. It's great for it because there's a lot of people don't like the hassle of selling for eBay, Reverb, or any of the strange Japanese sites, which seem a wee bit risky. So I found this one on Facebook Marketplace. There's also like buy and sell Edwards grips on Facebook. If you don't want to use that, Gumtree, you see them occasionally, eBay, Reverb, and then some of the Japanese auction sites where you can just import it yourself, but it's a wee bit more finicky to do that, I would say. One of my favorite things to do with these Edwards guitars is modify them. So it might be sacrilegious to some people out there, but it's been quite common for me in the past to take off these Godot tuners and replace them with the lock-in versions, which are very high quality as well. I've changed the pickups in past ones to actives like EMGs or Fishman's Fluence. Again, might be sacrilegious, but it's your guitar, so you should do whatever the hell you want with it. But with this guy, you'll hear people saying this about certain guitars. There's definitely a bit of mojo to this thing. It just feels great to play, and even though these humbuckers are, you know, they're higher output compared to like cheaper pickups, but they wouldn't be as high output as EMGs or Fishmans. But the harmonics just ring off this thing. Like I found myself accidentally hitting pinch harmonics and things like that there in a guitar in standard tuning. With just a bit of distortion, not loads, but there's definitely mojo in this guitar. It's just I don't have the space anymore. It makes room in case I see something else. It's going because I need the space, basically, so someone's getting a really cool guitar out of it. Is there anything I'm not as keen on the guitar? Honestly, there's a lot to like here. I opted to not change the pickups out because I loved how these sounded. I would maybe change the tuners to the lock-in variant of the Gotos, just because I've used them and they're absolutely bulletproof. One thing I would maybe do if I was holding on to it, I would try and sand some of the lacquer off the back of the neck because it is quite sticky. So that's what makes me think they finished the body in a different way compared to the neck, because it is a bit on the sticky side. So maybe just some of that lacquer needs to come off, and then this thing would be the easiest playing guitar ever. But yeah, highly recommend checking out Edwards Les Paul Customs or any of the Edwards line. If you have a look through my YouTube channel, you'll see I have tons of covers using Edwards Les Paul Customs. A lot of it's in the metal side of things, so if you want to see what a traditional sounding guitar or traditional spec guitar sounds like in a metal context, you'll have it there. You'll also see ones that I've modified to an inch of their life. I used to have one that I put an Evertune in, again, another sacrilegious thing. But they're your own guitars, so do whatever you want to do with them. Yeah, thank you for watching, and if you like this sort of stuff, like, subscribe, all that, that'd be amazing. I'm trying to do more of this sort of stuff. It's all based on guitar playing, all based on guitars. It's the only thing I know how to talk about. So, but thank you for watching. Hopefully see you in the next one.